whatever material outcome we set for ourselves, what have we got to do next? You've got to come down to this. So some of you already have broken it down into some process goals. Whether that's, okay, so our style of footy in terms of our principles that we're going to abide by, it's going to be about completion rates or whatever statistics you want to use to measure how you're executing the key principles and processes that are going to define how you play the game. And that becomes part of your identity too. So, coming back to the process. Now, one thing I want to mention about goals, material outcomes, is they will define your standards. And what I mean by that is that if you say, okay, well I'd like to actually finish, and we did this for a team, and we were sitting down at the beginning of the season, we said, so what do you want to achieve? All the players debated it for a while. Some of them had never made finals before, so they said, I'd just like to make the final. Then one player said, well, I'd like to win the championship this year. Another player thought, wow, if we're going to set our goals that high, why don't we set our goals to achieve something that no one else in the sport has ever achieved before? So she said, I'd actually like to go through undefeated the entire year and set a new standard for everyone else. Now, not everyone bought into that at that point in time, but we discussed it for at least another 45 minutes or so. And by the end of that discussion, because the coach got involved and said, right, well, this is what the process is going to be if we set our goal at that level. Does that sort of follow? And the thing is that when you set your goal to achieve the highest possible material outcome, the standard that you have to behave to, execute to, play to, whatever the case may be, the standard is nothing but the absolute best. Based on that, what we chat about next is we break down these goals, so those standards, that material outcome, we're going to say, okay, so what values underpin that goal? So that's when we go back to that discussion. So if I was to ask you, what are the values that are going to be really important to your team? So things you said before about respect, trust, discipline, commitment. As a team, what's going to define you? Because the values are the things that you do not negotiate over. Now this is where the coach has to get involved as well. Anyone who's involved with the team has to have some input into this, because ultimately they also have to live it and demonstrate it. Okay? So have a chat on your tables. Give me a couple of examples of, if you're a team, what would be some key values that you would aspire to? Okay, so what's going to be really important to you? EV. And we lost the gold medal in 2000 by 0.29%. But we did everything we possibly could to win. It just wasn't quite good. And sometimes that happens. In 2004, at the Olympics, we set our standard. I was a member of the men's 8. Our standard was to row a 5:16, so 5 minutes 16, in really fast conditions, so tail breeze conditions. We figured that that was achievable. No one else had done it before. The world record was 5:22. Okay, we broke that world record in our first race together. We did about 5:21, and we were on target to do this. I still regret to this day not absolutely hammering it through to the line, but we were way out in front. We said, right, don't risk anything, because you don't know what could happen. You know, something could break and suddenly you're out completely. So we rode a little bit conservatively in the last part of the race, and we did a 5:21. Still broke the world record, but that was achievable. But the point is, once we set our goal at that, and I'm not sure everyone bought into it in terms of really believing that we could do it, but we just said, okay, well at training when we're rating 20, in rowing you measure how quickly you're going up and down the slide in terms of how many strokes per minute. Rating 20, we had to be rowing a 1:38 split, 1:38 per 500. So 1 minute 38 per 500. When you're rating 22, that's got to be 1:36. 24, and you get the picture, it keeps dropping down. So we extrapolated that world record time that no one else had ever done before, because we figured that if we could do that, what do you think? Chances of winning a gold medal? Yeah. Pretty good. Now, we broke that down, and we started to actually do those times in training. So suddenly the guys start going, far out. This is possible. By the time we got to the Olympics, we really believed we could do it. Does that sort of follow? Like, you set your standards at the highest possible level, and you start executing those standards in training, you start having some faith and some belief that come game day, yeah, our structures are going to be strong because we've done it all training. We haven't accepted anything less than the best. You know, it can be as simple as when you do your, you know, your sprints, one line to the next. What standard are you willing to accept? Does the team stop running here? Do they coast to the line? Or do they run to the line? Or do they run past it? And does everybody do that? That's just a little example of how your standards will define everything else. Now, you may not always get what you want. You know, at the end of the day, we won another bronze medal. It's not a disaster. You know, it can always be a lot worse. Most people come home with nothing. But we didn't get what we wanted. But because we set these standards, even on our not great performance day, when we could have rode a little bit better, and we're talking, once again, 0.2%. So we could have done things a fraction better. But can you still get a medal result when you're not at your best? So can you still salvage a win when you're absolutely, you know for a fact that you're not at your absolute best that day, but you can still find a way to win? That will happen for you